up here later on for a Q&A with him and John Brennan, who's producer of the film. You may know him from Joe Bob. I'm going to try and keep my intro very, very brief, but like I said, fan since high school. First film of his I watched of Lloyd Kaufman's was Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. A film that I still watch every year on my birthday and subject my friends to every year on my birthday. So yeah, this is really, really amazing for me. I can't stop gushing. It's kind of like a proper fanboy moment, you know? So I'm going to keep my intro brief. I'm going to bring out Lloyd Kaufman.
Thank you very much, and unlike the Oscar people, I thank my wife first. The commissioner right over there, stand up, made it all possible. Produced the movie with Mr. John Brennan and Mr. Justin Martell, and the commissioner retired. Thank you. And thank you so much for coming and supporting this amazing museum. Troma movies are very similar to the main attraction here, the Jim Henson display. So if there's nobody familiar with us, just think of Oscar the Grouch. The movie is Jesse still here?
I'm still here.
They'll set me up one this time. This movie is based on The Tempest. I'm sure you've all read it and know it very well. How many actually know The Tempest? Oh, wow, this is the most erudite audience. Usually 600 people, there are like 2 people that do it. Thank you, that's going to be good. I think you'll have additional fun with the movie, but you don't need The Tempest. There are 2 themes. One is that from the time my wife and I first saw each other, which was over 50 years ago, she watches these chat shows in the morning, like the Today Show and that crap. And it's garbage, but it's a way to wake up. The ads, most of the ads are about drugs and pills, and you have 3 generations of kiddies, children running around in rompers, listening to this stuff, and it's in their brain. It's now drug, pill, drug. So, hey, with 300,000 opioid deaths this year, Putin's trying to beat that, but I don't think Putin will beat it. A little dark. Sorry. Manic depression. So that's the one theme, and then the other major theme, and there are a lot of little things. And if you know The Tempest, I think you'll have some additional fun. The other thing is this getting pounded on social for putting up your recipe for fried chicken, and if you're a celebrity, you get all sorts of hate for that. You didn't wash the chicken enough, And I've gotten a lot of stuff on the. Luckily, our fans took care of it, but I had 2 third-rate podcasters try to destroy the poor old man, and only for talking about free speech. That's it, free speech. They didn't like it. But the fans totally destroyed them. And then there was another liar who made a lot of money, right-wing stuff on YouTube, and hooked me in with Pizzagate. he won't do that again, I'll tell you that. He had the photos of me and my own baby, Charlotte Kaufman, who's in the room, who was DP on Troma movies. She's filming, there she is, filming right now. Anyway, Lily Hayes Kaufman made the short that you're going to see right before it. Wonderful. And Fleming shot it. So I think the Twitter hate and all that stuff and the snowflakes, that got to me. And Yale University has totally capitulated to the whatever it is, the empowered, what is it, the entitled gang, They're happy to go screaming and lynching, using Justice Thomas's words, a Nobel Prize winning scientist who also happened to write a bestseller. They attack him. They won't even let him talk because Yale told the students, these are the smartest students supposedly in the world. They weren't when I was there. Probably going over. But the college is advising the students what to wear for Halloween. Don't wear a Mexican hat. Don't. You'll get that. You'll see it in the movie. Don't appropriate. And they've increased administration at Yale, and they've decreased professors. So it's all they all have to find something to do, and then there are all these empowerment people who just attacked the. It was shameful. It was obscene, and nobody, not one person. It was the Oxbow incident. That's what it was. And of course, the professor and his wife quit. The wife wrote an open letter. That's why I can't make movies that anyone understands. The wife of this brilliant scientist, who also a very important professor, wrote an open letter saying, "Why are we teaching? Why do Yale students have to be taught that searching for Elmo is acceptable and a Mexican hat isn't? You know, don't you think they're smart enough?" And then, whoa, what did they get? That she got hate and then this mob came in. It's on YouTube, you can find it. But that pushed me over the line to make it. And The Tempest is my favorite play. We can talk more about that later. The Tempest is, I started reading it I went to see it with my mother when I was 8 years old. And if you've seen Mother's Day, the two brothers and the mother, what it was like in the dark watching Maurice Evans Prospero. But I read it a few times at school in Yale, and I wanted to wait till I was a losing power old guy and could really feel Prospero, which is why James Gunn and I made Romeo and Juliet, which was basically my wife's first 20 years. Anyway, thank you so much, and I'm sorry I'm talking too much.
No, it's quite all right. We're going to be talking a lot. Before we get started with the film, we wanted to bring out producer John Brennan, who's going to bring out the cast and crew of Shitstorm.
All right, everybody, are you ready for this? All right, so we shot about 70% of this movie here in Astoria, Queens in 2018. So big up to Astoria, and thank you to the museum for having us. This is absolutely amazing. I mean, this is very prestigious. Before we begin, I was asked to grab as many of the cast and crew as I could in the lobby, so cast and crew, please come out on stage! Please, this is the beautiful and prestigious cast and crew of Shakespeare Shitstorm, and if there are any people in the audience that I did not get to find, please stand up, please. Give yourself a round of applause. It took hundreds of people to make this movie, and without all these people is very important, so thank you.
They're still on. So that's what they were waiting for.
So many people.
$50 million made for under $500,000. The Diaper Mafia.
Get one last round of applause, and then we're going to start the film. We'll see you right after.
Producer and creator of the country Albania, where we shot a lot of this movie. First American company to film a narrative in Albania, thanks to this gentleman. The only show on Shudder that has any ratings are produced by these two guys and Matt Mangiarides, Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In. And all the crew came out, Troma people too, actually getting paid. It's amazing.
Let's get into all that in the Q&A. I don't want to hold up the movie. Thank you, though.
Sorry, that's the only plug that show's everybody.
That's it. Thank you very much for the plug.
Okay, take a bow. 3, 2, 1.
Troma! 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 You should have got up on stage. I didn't realize what was happening. That's all right. That's stage fright.
Just listening, he's learning. Thank you, everybody.
Lloyd, don't sit on your mic.
Life imitating art.
What y'all think?
Smells like Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, David Callisto is in the room, and Dylan Mars
Anybody who was in the movie, stand up.
Yes, please.
Stand up. Anybody? Stand up.
Teresa, Bobby. The Kaufmans. The Kaufmans. Charlotte Kaufman. Caliban.
Monique Dupree, Caliban. Thank you again, and thank you, Jesse, so much for this evening. It's makes it all worthwhile.
The honor is all mine.
It's either a very small dwarf or a 5-year-old, 8-year-old child. It's not Peter Dinklage, is it? No. I only said that because Peter's starring in the new Toxic Avenger, the good one, the $1 billion remake. I mean, no, I meant the almost good one. Toxic. Jesse.
So, just wanted to start out saying, and everybody loved the film, of course. When I first saw this film, I was doing coverage for Fantasia 2020, doing remote coverage. It's a real shame couldn't see it live in the theater. But I was struck. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was watching at home, and we got to the scene where the party is beginning, and we have the woman come out in the wheelchair and her voice box saying, "Let's get this party started." And it's about 3 in the morning, I lost my mind. I went and I was banging on my brother's door. I was like, "You gotta come see this scene, at least come see this." It's a wonderful film.
See, you can buy an Oscar. You cannot buy.
Buy this. No, you can't buy that, and I have much love.
Thank you
For Troma, of course. But it is a masterpiece. It really is. It is one of, if not the masterpiece of your filmography.
Take the compliment.
Thank you.
Please take the comment. But of course, you didn't do it alone. I mean, we brought them up before, the wonderful cast and crew, and I wish that you guys could be up here. There was time constraints and other issues with doing a longer panel, so I do apologize. It is not out of Lloyd's selfishness that he is up here, and that is certainly not the case.
Thank you for saying that.
No, because you're absolutely.
And again,
absolutely
Justin
generous.
Martell and John Brennan and my wife, the commissioner, Pat Kaufman. It's definitely the best cast and crew I've had in over 50 years, and that's saying a lot.
So, I do want to start out with where this idea comes from. Why do you want to do The Tempest? Is there something about, especially in your final monologue as Prospero, there's such an honesty to it. So is it specifically the Prospero character that's attracted you to doing this adaptation?
The Tempest was always my favorite Shakespearean play, and there's good reason. It's the trippiest, it's got a monster, it's all the world loves lovers, there's a fairy, it's mystical. It deals with the 4 elements. If you drill down in, it's a fascinating play. And what makes it really challenging, it's all set up, right? There's all this stuff, and then Prospero says, "Okay, let's go home. I forgive you." And so it was very challenging, that part. But James Gunn and Troma team made Romeo and Juliet. I would have done the Prospero thing, but I wanted to really feel Prospero, and now I feel it. I get it. Prospero's losing power. He gets banished. I'm becoming definitely feeble and getting swept deeper and deeper down into the underground. Wait a minute, Brandon Bassam is out there. Brandon Bassam, the writer. The next, what a great, how lucky was I? How lucky. And Gabe Friedman too.
So you get the idea, and do you hand it off to Brandon and the team to write? So I want to know about that process.
Gabe Friedman's father saw something in National Geographic about a fecal bloom, and Gabe had filmed one of these how do you say it? The big boat with the rich doctors and rich people to get rewarded for selling drugs. And he filmed it. The stuff in that movie is exaggerated, but it's kind of what Gabe told me. So then that plus Shakespeare, and then Brandon took these really stupid ideas and made Spun Gold. It's like Rumpelstiltskin.
Originally, it was supposed to be ayahuasca was going to be what caused the shitstorm, and all the executives were going to shit all over each other out of hallucinations. It was going to be very trippy. But I'm kind of glad that we did the whale feces, because it's, the photorealistic whales that we got in Albania and the Coast Guard ship, thanks to Justin Martell, who got us a connection with the Albanian Coast Guard. All that stuff is up on screen, and it's amazing. The photorealistic whales.
Well, actually, Justin had the Albanians are the only ones who have really good trained whales and defecate corn, vegan whales. Pretty amazing.
Why corn, Lloyd? Why corn?
There
you go.
That's filmmaking. So you had mentioned in the intro about 70% of the film was filmed in Astoria, right?
Yes, most of
Most
other
of the
than
film.
Albania, right?
Yeah, we did a place called Central Bar Lounge. Was a good 16 days at least there, and half the club was a club, and the other half was a restaurant. So the restaurant portion is where we did the yacht stuff, and then we would have holding in the club section, and then we would switch over and have the club stuff that we shot, and the yacht section would then be the holding. So that place really came in handy. And then on top of that, I was just watching the credits here. All the establishments and businesses and things that were giving us things. I mean, we got free energy drinks from Cocaine and Balls, and we also got great days from Brooklyn Fireproof, which is a soundstage here in Brooklyn, and that they all came through. That's where the alley was. So a lot of places gave us really great deals.
It really helped a lot.
Which is wonderful, but where does the Albania shoot come into it? Like, why Albania? How did that come together?
Justin Martell.
The great Justin Martell, one of the
late Justin Martell.
great,
The great.
Justin
I gotta say it
I thought we had breaking news.
That's why he's not up here with us. No, but he has a company called Pioneer Media, and they go out to places in Eastern Europe and countries such as that, and have relations with the film consulates, the film commissions, and get things done for a little bit cheaper than it is here in America.
The real problem is the mainstream is chicken, right? They're all afraid to lose their jobs. They don't want to take a risk. So we were willing to take the risk, and the Albanians were willing to give us a great deal, thanks to Justin. So we got very, very lucky, and they spent months training those damn whales. I tell you, we got amazing behind the scenes. No, but seriously, we took a risk. A country that was the longest-running dictatorship in history, probably, and they're trying to start a film industry, and the way that they give incentives. So here we are, and after Justin brought us, he and others have brought these much bigger movies to Albania. So once again, Troma leads the way.
They also rebuilt half of the boat. Some of the scenes that you see where Dylan and Zoe are teetering, and they built a shit cannon, all kinds of stuff in a soundstage. So
well, they did have a dictator for 50 years, so a lot of shit cannons.
Did you find that there was a big Troma fan base in Albania? Like, working with the crew or anything? Like, what was that like?
The crew, except for the old guy who looked like Dustin Hoffman, they all were fans. They were young and they loved Troma, and we've never, it's the gift of I talk about it in Sell Your Own Damn Movie, the gift of bootlegging, right? They all had seen at least a half dozen of our movies, so they were all fully, and I think Justin and Schmenk, Gent did a terrific job organizing and the location, the huge boat, the ship, all that stuff. It's amazing. It's great. If you ever make a movie, try Albania.
So it wasn't any
That's a
sorts.
quote.
It wasn't any sorts of
Approve this
difficult
message.
there. It wasn't any sorts of difficult there. You didn't find like.
it was actually proving to be a little more difficult here to find
Really?
a yacht and things like that. It was so expensive. I mean, just one day on the yacht would have cost us an insane amount that we got for, I don't know, a week in Albania, essentially, right?
Yeah, it was very expensive. So, and there were other things. The commissioner and I met with a number of locations, and the folks just were ridiculous. And we could never have done it on anything but that type of ship.
It would have been, stick figures and little boat. We would have been in a little kiddie pool or something. It wouldn't have been the same.
That might have been endearing. I don't know.
Next one.
Next one. But so, one of my favorite pieces of Troma media is, I mentioned it during the intro, I love Poultry Guys Night, Chicken Dead, but Poultry in Motion, the documentary, the making of that. So I'm always interested in what the production process is on the sets, right?
Well, you're in luck because Bjarni, who plays the captain, has been editing a behind the scenes about this movie, and it's called Brown is the Warmest Color. Trust me, it's almost as good as Poultry in Motion. This thing is classic.
I love it. Were there people sleeping on the floor like we had in Poultry in Motion? Should we just wait until the knock comes
People
out?
had air mattresses. It wasn't all
Air
hardwood
okay.
floors. But yeah, a lot of people, in fact, here in Astoria, we had a place, and it was lovingly dubbed the Shit House. And this is where a lot of the crew and cast would sleep, and some of them went on to form a production company called Shit House Productions. And they're in Tennessee right now making a movie called Curse of the Werewolf that Lloyd is producing. So it birthed this other production company.
Troma family. Troma. It's a very strong bond when you're on a Troma set. No,
How long were you guys shooting for in Astoria, or in the New York area?
Principal photography was about 24 days here in New York, and then there was about 6 days in Albania, and then we had a few pickup days here and there, such as at the Brooklyn Fireproof Studios, where we did 2 days in a row, and then we also did some stuff at the YouTube space, because Troma has enough followers on their YouTube channel that we could get a couple of free days there, so we used that space as well.
Which is funny because you guys had been banned on YouTube somewhat recently. Is that right? Like they had taken.
This
down
was
all the
before
clips.
all that debacle.
This was before all that. I see.
I think we're still okay down there. They like us. It's just
Yep.
the algorithms set to kill the independent companies. But Lloyd Kaufman directed that commercial, which was pretty good. Very fun guy.
So we're told probably, let's see, 24 plus 6 plus 2 plus another 3 or 4.
Yeah, so
Whatever that is.
When you look at it, it's a big deal. I mean, you've got a $50 million movie for under $500,000. And it's probably my last movie because you young folks are able to make movies with that 10% of that, and they're great. So Brandon Basham's new movie is on, it's called Slashing Part 2, the final beginning, and it's in some theaters, and it's on Troma now, the future, but now. And Brian is currently taking time off from directing his film, which is currently filming, Bring on the Damned. And thank you all for coming. It's wonderful. Bring on the Damned.
So to that
Especially
point.
if you like that movie.
So to that point, you said
So
this,
I think I'm producing more. The younger
Sure.
people, they got it together, you know, and there's a huge amount of talented young people, and it's fun to work with them and steal their idea. I mean, take credit.
But to that point, you say this may be your last film. You've said that.
I think so.
You said that in interviews. I remember when we first had our meeting, when we had our first meeting, rather, you had mentioned that. And it kind of comes across in Shitstorm. I mentioned before Prospero's final speech, being so vulnerable, so honest. This really does feel like a bittersweet swan song. So are you saying, like, was this purposely made as like your victory lap? It certainly comes across that way. You seem to be saying, you're saying a lot of the things that you've said throughout your career, but you're saying them, in my estimation, better than you ever had before, as clear as you ever had before. So were you conscious of that in the production, that this may be my swan song?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, after we finish shooting, it's very stressful to do this stuff, and you know, it's a dangerous. You know, there's a lot of danger, and that's the scary. In fact, we set that place on fire. If I remember.
There were a few fires. We took care of them, but there were a few.
Nobody's head got chopped off like on the major Twilight Zone and all that. 50 years, knock on wood, never had a major. But that's the stuff that scares the crap out of me, pardon the expression. And so at the end of this filming, I did a major tribute to Alfred Hitchcock. I actually got vertigo, and spinning the mountain for 3 days. And also, being in that suit took a lot out of me, let me tell you. I need some Cialis now.
But Lloyd, interesting fact, Lloyd, is that Lloyd directed about, I would say, 60% of this movie in drag. Even when the scenes were over. So it's funny because a lot of the other documentaries that you see, there's like maybe 6 or 7 scenes where Lloyd's yelling and stuff. This one was he was very calm. And there was only maybe one time that you blew up. Lloyd, was it because of the drag?
Well, I certainly was a more attractive ugly woman than an ugly man. But I owe my wife, the commissioner, who was there, both calming and I know what'll happen when I get home. So there was a lot of that. She calls herself the dog whisperer. No, not the dog.
Oh, the Lloyd Whisperer. It's absolutely true. And working with Pat Kaufman was an absolute pleasure. There were so many times where I was sitting thinking, how are we going to do this? And Pat would just come around, talk to a couple of people, and everything would be solved. So, to Pat Kaufman.
Yeah! Well, also, it's the best cast and crew, no joke. I mean, everybody on the film really wanted to make some art. Let's make some art. They really, that was it. I have trouble with everybody's names.
Well, it's just from people that were there for 2 hours to the entire shoot. People contributed insane amounts to this movie that honestly make it better. Yes. Even the smallest bits.
What would be your biggest takeaway from this production, John?
My biggest takeaway would be, well, this is only I can speak from my personal experience, is that sometimes it's good to give yourself away for free. I came to Troma as a editing volunteer, and I edited some of Lloyd's Make Your Own Damn Movie stuff, and I guess he liked it, so I stuck around. Then I got to be his assistant, did that for a few years, then I got to produce a couple of his movies. So with that, I then got to get on a TV show called The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, because I met Justin Martell and Matt Mangiarini. So I owe a lot to Troma. I owe a lot to Troma, and I would like to say that Lloyd is such a generous guy, and I wouldn't have the career that I have without him. So thank you, Lloyd.
Well, thank you very, very much. But you guys, you certainly paid your dues, and that's the thing. It's like a film school in a way. It's the Hudson School of Painting, the Troma School of Filmmaking kind of. We actually pay you a little bit. You don't have to pay $80,000 a year.
It's the best film school. I mean, if you hear that Troma's making a movie and you're an aspiring filmmaker, I would say carve out at least 5 to 10 days to get on that set and do whatever you can, because you'll learn a ton.
Well, thanks, John. Thank you, Justin, too, and Commissioner.
With that in mind, Lloyd, do you often mentor? You mentioned all the people who come through Troma who work on your sets, the amazing cast and crew you have. Do you find time to mentor as much of them as you can? Is that something you're very much interested in?
I had turned none of them gay, if that's what you meant.
No. Although if you had stories, we could talk about them.
Stiebenbergen, the maker of I Need You Dead, right? He was my assistant. Did my best, no look. Anyway, I should stop that. The mentoring just comes with the position. I'm kind of real, so people can just, sort of be there. And unfortunately, I'm a bit manic depressive. But I think recently, both Michael Herzma, who I haven't mentioned, who's only my partner for 50 years, without whom none of this would be, because somehow he keeps the ship afloat. And we keep making these movies that don't really make any money, and yet he's able to keep us out of debt and keep going and all that. So thank you, Michael Hertz, no question about it. He just doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. He's very private. But, Doug Sackman's not here either, who, in terms of practical effects, they had created a shitstorm in a totally white premises.
Yeah, there were gallons and gallons of shit. I mean, gallons. You'll see in the behind the scene how much was made. And then on top of that, we had Eric Fox, who did a lot of the practical effects and the melt things and the society type of shunting effects. And then a huge crew of people who just joined up. I mean, some people just showed up on set to be PAs and ended up doing special effects. RJ, for one. Yeah. So it's a lot of people. You come, you don't really have necessarily an assignment over the first course of the few days, and then you fall into place, and you get your things. Also, I'd like to shout out Zach Amico, who wrote.
Co-director.
And directed.
And wrote Zach improvised quite a number of the real Shakespearean couplets. Beta Callisto's in the crowd, ladies and gentlemen, one of the stars. Thank you, Beta came to fill in for this. And Dylan Mars Greenberg is going to be playing tonight.
Woo! Yeah.
There's
an after party. Everybody's invited. It's at a place called the Wolfhound.
Yes.
It's on 30th Avenue. The Wolfhound. Look it up. It's not far. It's maybe 3 or 4 to 7 blocks.
Thanks,
I'll
John.
be performing the Shitstorm theme song.
Yeah.
Where did you write that song, Dylan?
I wrote it in Albania while we were there in the hotel room, and I recorded the majority of the synths and vocals actually in my hotel room in Albania every night after I'd wipe all the shit off of my body in field tried duty, which of course inspired me to write the song, and then we recorded more parts with session musicians and my band in New York City.
So
And they let
stay
you put it in
tuned.
the movie.
Only
Come out
a
and listen
short
to it,
walk
huh?
away.
Only a short one.
I've heard a lot about shit tonight, and I don't want to wait for the documentary. I must know what this shit was made of. Please.
I know one of the things was tapioca starch.
Amazing.
That was one of the things within. I know that there's other people such as shit masters, shit wranglers, or things of that nature. There's actually a whole shit unit credit.
We may have to consult with Shithouse Productions in Tennessee.
Chocolate cake and fudge. Who's that? Stevie Lou. Shit master, I believe. And you'll see in the behind the scenes. It's all in the kitchen. They're
We
brewing.
recycled the chocolate cake. Well, it was the desserts. I believe the caterers here.
Oh, the Hidalgo.
Mr. What's his name? The guy who got the food for us from Brazil.
Oh, Leandro? Our associate
Leo,
producer,
Leo.
Leo.
Hey, Leo.
Leo's here. He's there. He is.
Thank you so much, Leo.
See, that's another example where Leo came in. He was one of the first people that showed up to the Troma building when it was just basically me working on the movie with Lloyd. One of the first people did anything that he was asked and ended up with an associate producer credit. I mean, it's amazing. He did such a great job, and there were multiple people like that. James Boylan, another person who came in and just was so helpful from the beginning, and ended up just getting that credit because they deserved it.
That's the good thing. Yeah, I actually did that when I began. I had a job with a crappy little company called Canon, but I identified John G. Avildsen as a talented dude, and he was making Joe, and because I had a brain, I think he saw Yale on my resume, so he called for me to be on set as a PA, and then I attached myself to him, and I worked for free while he was trying to get another gig, which is Cry Uncle, which is on Troma now. It's hilarious. It's a little-known Avildsen. He did it right before Rocky, and I worked on Rocky with him. So I had the experience of also trading credits. On Saturday Night Fever, I had the worst job, and very little money. But I got a half-screen credit. But it was a horrible job.
You helped edit
Jesus.
Rocky, is that right? Or it was
Troma produced all the stuff in Philadelphia under the radar with the Cry Uncle crew, non-union Cry Uncle crew, and then the Teamsters, the truck drivers in those days were 76 or 70, whenever that was. They were rough, so we had to run back to, not we, the others ran back to Stallone, Talia, Burgess Meredith, the producers. They all went back to L.A. and shot the rest of the film, but all those iconic shots, wonderful. We did them all low budget. At night, the people in their houses would squirt the water on the street to make the reflection. Pizza for lunch, and it was the second movie to use the Steadicam. And I did behind the scenes. For some reason, I must have had a little camera, and so I shot behind the scenes. So there's all this footage of one of the most amazing, iconic movies of our country, and it's in the. I gave it to Avildsen. He cut it down to. Then we cut it some more to about 15 minutes, and we wrote a script, and then we narrated it. It's very interesting for students. And the best thing was Avildsen put it up on his YouTube channel. And he got a letter from Fox, a cease and desist. I gave it to them too. I got one also, but Avildsen, I didn't fight it. I just let it. Avildsen fought it, and it was okay.
So you start
Great
your
world.
you start your career basically how you
Film
recommend
school.
people. Yeah, well, it's film school, but also just going out and doing the work, like how you.
Yeah, it
say
is film
everyone
school.
else.
Yeah, there's stuff they can't teach you. It's hard not, you don't know that the helicopter blades cut somebody's head off. Or if you put a stuntman in a car and put it in the water, he might drown. So we've done those stunts and figured out using Pythagorean law that you can do it without the guy in the car or the lady in the car.
Well, you live by the 3 rules of production, which
Exactly.
are.
Safety to humans, the most important. And I just called Ben Johnson down in Nashville because they have this messenger thing, and they're all kind of, they're all high-fiving themselves and shithouse productions and having a great time. And it's just the perfect atmosphere for somebody to back a truck up and do a full head crushing. So I talked to Ben, he says everything is 100% safe. And I think we're going to get insurance actually this time.
Oh, good. So that's safety to humans.
That was a joke.
Safety to humans, then safety to people's property, and then in smaller letters, make a good movie.
And that's what it's all, right? One human life's worth more than all the movies put together, probably, right?
Another interesting fact is that on the Cursed Films on Shudder, they came on set and interviewed Lloyd in that episode that was on the set of Shakespeare's Shitstorm, if you recall.
Yeah, I think I told them that I only do interviews in the drag. And
That's right.
I think it's in the interview, I believe.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's Lloyd in drag talking about safety on set, and it's behind the scenes of this movie.
Is this going to be a
Thanks,
new
John.
ongoing thing, or are you just going to be in drag often, like
Every
day?
But it wasn't bad. I kind of enjoyed it. It's just it took a lot of time. But I think one thing in my career, I don't believe I've asked anybody to do anything that I haven't done or did. I don't know how to say that, but I've been about as naked as I could be in a movie a few years back.
The Buffalo Bill dance from Silence of the Lambs. Lloyd reenacted that.
And I asked my daughter Charlotte to film it, and she, for some reason, refused. And just we filmed it in my living room, I think. And then Pat came home. The commissioner came home,
And then started directing you.
Yes.
It was great.
That's a return to Newcomb High, the second half of an amazing two-part Tarantino-inspired two-part.
Which was also premiered here at
That's
Museum
right.
Moving
Yeah,
Image.
thank you
5
very
years
much.
ago, yeah.
That's
so
right.
this is a homecoming in a
Wow,
way.
thank you. It's really a great evening. Really, no question. I'm a sad old drunk, very happy, ladies and gentlemen. No joke, thank you.
That, you said
I'm really happy.
My first email conversation with Lloyd was, he ended the email with that, "You made a sad old drunk very happy, Jesse." It's like, oh my gosh. But no, I remember that event very funny. That was my first week working here at the museum, and the idea of curating a series, wasn't even on my mind yet. So fast forward almost 6 years later, and I'm up here with you is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. It means a lot.
we're gonna get to some audience questions in just a moment. I want to wrap up with you. You're coming up. Is 50 years, or is more?
I've
than
been
that,
doing it for
but
more than 50
coming
years.
up. Yeah, exactly.
I was talking about masturbation. I've been making movies for probably
yes.
52 years.
52 years, yes.
53 years.
We could talk about that.
Started in
another
the
time.
60s. Yale is when I started doing it. Both things.
So, and you say that.
All boys.
You say that this could be your last film, and we're debuting it here at the Museum of the Moving Image, which is amazing, right? To be able to show it at a place like this.
Oh
in
my
your
gosh,
backyard.
the projection. Please thank Fred. Is that his name?
Fred, if you're in the
Oh,
booth,
wow.
Lloyd says
Yeah,
thank
I mean,
you.
geez. The sound picture. Again, it's a credit to Lucas Picasso and Mr. Fleming over there, whose name I forgot. What's your last name? Fleming. What's your first name? Fleming. They also that wonderful short directed by Innards, all one shot. Mr. Fleming did it. All the way from Denmark, the happiest land in the world. Fleming.
What would be like how would you sum up your career? How would you sum up your time as a director? What does Shakespeare's Shitstorm say about your time as a director? It's being recorded by everyone here. We're in the museum. It's being documented. I would love to hear something definitive about your life as a truly independent filmmaker.
Well, certainly I've been lucky to make this movie. That total freedom. I don't think anybody there thought about formulaic money or how we're going to make profit or any of that stuff. So I think that's beautiful. And the fact that the commissioner let me make the movie and we put most of the money is our own money. In fact, Bad Dragon, the good people at Bad Dragon, just as a gift, gave us about 10% of the budget. Yeah. So, I appreciate the commissioner. I don't know if everybody, right? It's a lot of money, for retirement and all that stuff. So,
And John, as you're entering, as you're still, quite new to the field or still quite young, getting to your peak, how do you sum up as a filmmaker and producer in this industry? How do you sum it up so far, and what does Shakespeare's Shitstorm say about your role as in the film industry so far?
It's honestly all the time when I'm on set or doing something creative, I sometimes think, what would Lloyd do? There's times when there's seriously something's going wrong on set. You're trying to figure something out. It's like, we come from Troma. We can figure this out. There's no hill that's too high to climb. So, and that's because of the great film school that I got from Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers, and as well as all the people that I've met through the network of Troma. So Troma will be in my DNA now forever. And anything that I have to do that's difficult, I'll be able to solve it because Troma.
What would Lloyd do?
Yeah.
Someone should put that on the bracelet. Have we thought about this yet?
I'm there for all of you. I've been giving out my cards so that you would see Troma now, the future. But the other side has email. I'm very, I do answer all my own email, and Twitter and Instagram I do myself.
Reach out for some advice,
So I'm
right?
very available if anybody has an idea or a script.
Can I send you a script?
Absolutely. I don't know if I'm doing anything, but if
Maybe
I come
coming
across
soon.
something, I'd love to do it. And we have a young directors now, right? Dylan's ready to do a new movie, and Mr. Rocco Siebenbergen he's writing something now. Who knows? It's the young people.
So.
Hey, also Mercedes Amuse. Keep an eye out for her. She made Divide and Conquer. It's a feminist, a real feminist movie. And it's won some awards, as has Brandon's movie. Brandon just got some big thing in California. But to keep an eye, Divide and Conquer. We tested it on Troma Now for a few days, and they liked it. And we're trying to get theaters and festivals. There are obviously a lot of talented people out there.
Maybe we'll do it for Disreputable Cinema.
That would be great.
Do it here.
Yeah. Well, anytime you want to screen it, we have it.
We'll check. Everyone's tired of hearing me ramble, but nobody's tired of hearing you speak. So I would love to take some audience questions. I can't take too many, unfortunately, but I'll get through as many as you can. I'm seeing one right there on the left.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Question. My name's Gabe. Also, I know there's a lot of Gabes. There's a number of them involved in Troma, not me. But the question is there going to be any BTS footage on the DVD or on Troma Now of the Training the Whales from Albania?
It's not in the main Brown is the Warmest Color, but there is an Albanian specific featurette that will be happening. And we were in early talks for the Blu-ray, so we don't know exactly what's going to be on there, but it'll be readily available in some way or another, and hopefully we'll get it on the Blu-ray.
Yeah. It's just we're running through the theaters now. It's a lot of fun to see this. You can't, when you're on the small screen, you don't see all the other. There's hundreds and thousands of people there all doing things in the background. It's really great to see it and hear it. So what a pleasure it was to see it here. Wonderful. And, it's a communal. Troma is communal, not just behind the scenes, but as moviegoers. People have watch parties. So we just got some big shot from Twitch wants to do a watch party for hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. And bravo, New York Times. They put the actual uncensored, the hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm in the headline of the review.
They finally did something right.
And that was an incredibly fair review. Kudos to you.
It's a very good review. Yeah, and a real critic. Janet Katzel. What's her name? Katzelaris. Yeah. She's very good. Very good critic.
Let's get another question. Got a hand up? Yes, sir.
When you see Lloyd, when you see Jersey Fresh in your local supermarket in the summer, what do you think?
I live in New York during the summer, but I when looking at this movie, I have been getting some questions. So why is there such a Jersey hate? And looking at the movie, I didn't really mean that. Tromaville is the city living in the shadow of the arrogant New York. So it's kind of screwed it up. It's funny though. It's a Jersey thing. There's a lot of humor there. Nobody notices if you're murdered with drugs in your body and your head shoved down a toilet. New Jersey. But it is. That's not nice. I apologize to you.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Let's see. That's quite all right. Last chance for questions, though. I do want to. All right. Toxie, I didn't ask you any questions. Just give me a growl or something. Close this out with a growl. That's what I'm talking about.